Hi everybody, Suzanne Lyons here, and welcome back. This is tip number 9, and I have, like I promised, David Llauger-Meiselman is visiting me today. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, this is great. This is tip number 9 of our 12. This is 12 tip series this time, David. Usually I do this 10 tip series, and this one, I mean, like I was telling him last week, I could have gone on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks because there's so many exciting, interesting ways to raise funds for your film. You know, whether it's the normal way of doing it or outside the box, or there's just such a whole variety of ways. And that's why I promised, you know, the people who watch these YouTubes is that I would invite some people like yourself in just so that we could look at what are some of the different things that are out there. What today's tip is about is like looking for common ground. Looking for common ground. You know, and I know that you are well, yeah, you're in post right now, right? Well,
right,
in fact, let me just hand it over to you. Share with us a little bit about your movie, you know, what you're in post on, and your star and so on, and then share with us what is it about this whole distinction of common ground that, you know, it kind of has you be able to want to talk about it and share that with people as a way to potentially raise your funds for your film. Okay.
I'm the producer and director for a film called Strike One. We just shot it this past summer here in East Los Angeles in Well Heights.
Congratulations!
Thank
Very
you.
Cool.
Starring Danny Trejo and James Russo.
Wow.
And basically, I mean, as a filmmaker, my genre or niche is Latino.
Okay.
So the common ground, I guess, would be that that's my market, which is a niche market, and so it was easy for me to find a good script.
Yes.
And then pitch someone like a Danny Trejo, and of course Alma Martinez, who was in Zoot Suit. I have her as well.
Got it.
And some other actors like Billy Gallo, who's a Puerto Rican actor from New York.
Brilliant.
And that was that you don't see a lot of Latinos get the opportunity to do these types of dramas.
Got it.
So that was essentially one of the easy ways for me to attract them, and then also in doing so, getting a name like Danny Trejo, who did Machete, I'm able to go to my investors and then raise money much quicker and easier. So.
Perfect. So once you decided on kind of this niche market that you were going to do, and on having Danny in the film and having that marketable name, then you found it easier then to go to investors who were then interested in that particular niche market?
Correct. Or those that normally would not be. You know, niche markets like horror or a niche market like a comedy. Yeah. In this case, you know, the Latino film market has been one of these brass rings or gold rings on the merry-go-round that people have been trying to acquire for years.
Yeah.
And you'll see films that'll hit, you know, like for example, Montezuma Esparza did very well in the late 80s, early 90s with it, and continues to do and work in that area. But he's also gone broader. I mean, he's doing more mainstream stuff. Okay. But my goal was, hey, you know, I want to focus on this market and really kind of like corner it for myself.
Oh, brilliant.
And there's a large audience. I mean, you're looking at a buying power in this country equivalent to the gross national product of Canada.
Really?
That's what Latinos have in this country. So there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I actually get the distinction. I get the concept. Yeah. So therefore, it just was it's a kind of a comfort level then for your investors, for potential investors, because they can say, oh my gosh, there is a marketplace that this film can then sell to. Okay. Good.
And also, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican in descent, but I grew up and I was born in the United States. I was raised in the Midwest, so I have an understanding of being bicultural. Got it. So I do know what a Latino in my situation, or even an Anglo-American audience would like to see. So the stories are not they're not any different or swayed from what other immigrant groups have experienced in this country, whether you're Italian or Irish or Polish or Chinese. I mean, everybody has somewhat of the similar stories, and Strike One kind of follows in that line. This is a Chicano-based story. You know?
Really? And it really does boil down to the story. I mean, you know, really, I mean, putting kind of funding aside, it really is all about the story.
Right.
I remember when I went to see Under the Same Moon, I was actually at a conference at the NALEAP conference in Santa Fe years ago, where they played this movie Under the Same Moon, and I'm sure I cried more than anybody else in the entire audience, and I was probably the only non-Latino person there. But it was all about that magnificent story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it all boils down to that. As long as there's that human, wonderful story that we can all relate to, no matter what. But kind of getting back to the common ground again, that you really actually then said, okay, yes, I've got that great story. It's in the Latino world. I'm going to actually, and then put on some great actors, and then take advantage of that fact to express to investors, potential investors, the possibility of this incredible marketplace.
Correct.
Right.
And yeah.
Clear.
Yeah. And then also, again, using this the somewhat of finding the star power, because unlike if you're making a mainstream film in Hollywood and you're trying to attract, a Tom Hanks or anyone of that caliber, you've got to really have money. And you've got to have one hell of a script and money. I mean, it's just not something that you can just come out of the blue and just acquire that person.
Yeah.
But in the Latino market, there's not a lot of opportunity for someone like a Danny Trejo to play the kind of role that he's playing in this particular film. So we had a really exceptional script.
Wow.
And it was an opportunity for him to play a role that he's never done before.
Wow.
So we got to see another side of Danny Trejo, other than the action star who's, or a bad guy or a thug, or, he got to play a human being who had many facets to him, and it's a tragic story. I mean, in the sense, and uplifting at the same time. In the end, but it was not hard, and it was really funny because originally we were going after Lou Diamond Phillips. And because we had seen him in La Bamba and all these other films, we thought it would be a great project for him. And they were kind of, and then they passed on us. And then we were speaking to Danny Pino for a little bit, and we were kind of like, okay, Danny, and then we tripped on this one other actor, Emilio Rivera, who's on Sons of Anarchy. And he happens to have the same agent as Trejo's agent, and she flipped when she saw it, and she said, Danny wants this.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, it all happens for a reason. Sometimes you're so disappointed when somebody passes, and then you see the person who's in your movie, and you're going, it could not have been anybody other than that person.
And actually the storyline was written based on his life, in a sense. That type of character is a guy who'd been in prison and got out and went on the right track, and then became a television movie star, and that's the character in the film.
How interesting.
So in a million years we never thought we'd get Danny Trejo, even though it was based on who he was.
Very cool.
And ironically we got Danny Trejo.
That's fantastic. It was all meant to be.
It was meant to be, and then because he was attached, then all the other actors, we had other names that, Danny Trejo's in it, we want to work with him. Right. So it was really easy to...
And that kind of points out to one of the other tips that we talked about as well, which was, that talent is important.
Right.
That you've got to keep that in mind, because those names can... not only sell later in terms of, territory sales, but it also sells in terms of your investor having that additional comfort level as well.
Right.
That, wow, there's credibility here, there's additional credibility here, there's the potential that it will sell because of that particular credibility, and that's another level of comfort for the potential investor.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I got a crossover market too. So I've got the Latino market, and then I can also cross over to the mainstream market, because I have other names attached to it.
Oh, brilliant.
So
very
it was,
brilliant.
Getting James Russo, getting French Stewart, and we also have Reggie Val Johnson. So we got some people from different communities that are in this particular cast, and it's great.
That's so good. Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so cool. And you're welcome. And for me, something like Omar the Camel, where I'm working on this animated Christmas special, it's got a Christian, theme, a faith-based, so of course I'm going to focus on the faith-based community, and see what the interest level is there, because those people are going to want to see more movies out there that are from with the faith-based theme. So there's another market. So it's not just we're talking about looking at does the story, does that screenplay have some potential for you to kind of look at some type of a niche market, and therefore be able to ensure that you've got a market that will then sell, a good size market, like you were saying, then we'll have the investors feeling that security level that they'll want to come on board and write you that check.
I think it's easier for the investors to understand too. I mean, and it wasn't a hard sell for us when we went to the investors and we pitched them the project and showed them what we were going to do with it and the direction we were going with it, and they got it. And it's like when you're saying faith-based, I mean, that's a huge market that's still growing. And along with the Latino, I mean, look at the African-American market, which has really done well in the last 20 years. You get guys like Tyler Perry that put out projects, and it spurred so many other people and other projects. So it's getting to the point where, look at The Help. The Help went to the Academy Awards, but this is a project that was written and directed by white folks, and which I thought was really interesting, because it basically crossed over to both both markets and both genres, and that's really where you want to see. I would like to see the Latino market, not me necessarily the Latino market, but be part of mainstream America.
Totally, absolutely.
It's part of the same culture.
Right. Where it boils down to once again the story.
Right. So people are interested in seeing the story, itself, and then of course the niche markets are great because people have interest, and you see it in cable television right now. You know, you've got True TV and Arts and Entertainment or the Women's Channel or whatever. So everybody has it. There's the Spike, which I guess is the Macho Guy channel kind of thing. So everybody's got their thing. Sci-fi.
So let's take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. It's there already, so let's take advantage of that when we're going out and making our movies. So one other area for you guys to think about is this whole area of common ground. And that's it. So I will see you next week. David, thank you so much for joining me. This was so great. This was so much fun. And I met David, well, actually quite a few years ago when we were doing that, when I was teaching the indie film classes. So we go back a ways, and and I just think it's so great that we're getting out there and making these indie films. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I just have a real admiration for people who say, I'm going to do it, and then they do. So really, I just acknowledge you for, staying with your commitment and following through, and here you are in post on your movie.
Yes.
It's just so darn cool. I'm just so excited. So this is great. I will see you guys next week. Tip number 10. All right, have some fun looking back at all these 9 tips now that we've had, and kind of, get excited about what are ways that you can go out and start, looking for investors for your film. And I will see you next week. Once again, Suzanne Lyons signing off.